listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good,
Others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right
that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This programming is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive.
Thank you, Lawrence, and good morning, listeners, on this March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Good morning. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We would love to hear from you. I am expecting Supervisor Fred Costello shortly. He may be doing it virtually this morning, not certain. But do we have Fred on the line?
We have Fred on the line.
Good morning, Supervisor Fred Costello, Town of Saugerties.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing?
We're doing. Didn't want to make the trip in this morning?
Want to make what?
I said, you didn't want to make the trip in this morning?
Well, I'm sort of being cautious because yesterday I was with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, rather than find out that somebody I was with was exposed, I'll just call in and make sure that everybody around is safe. But I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're happy, certainly happy to have you, because the studio here is, it's Lawrence and I, and that is it.
That is it? It's okay. We got plenty to talk about, and I can't believe I'm looking at snow. Is that part of the forecast, Greg, to have this little bit of snow?
Hold on one second. You're fading in and out. What was that?
I'm surprised at the weather. It's been cold, but now this morning we have a little bit of a dusting.
Yeah. We can live with a little bit of a dusting. 2 years ago on St. Patrick's Day, we got about 6 inches.
That's right, we did.
Yeah, I can remember. I can remember being at the Chamber St. Patrick's Day breakfast, where I would have been this morning if we were into a normal mode, which we haven't entered yet, and hopefully we're going in the right direction. But I remember coming out from the breakfast, and from the time we went in to the time we came out, there was a good 2 additional inches of snow on the ground. So we can certainly take a dusting.
Yep, we can live with a dusting. That's a good point.
And it looks like it's going to warm up nicely as we go into the weekend and next week. So hopefully we're out of the woods as far as winter weather is concerned.
Okay, I'm embarrassed if I missed it, but did we have a baseball game yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No.
All right.
High school spring sports cannot start practicing until April the 19th because fall sports and winter sports currently are going on. Although many schools opted, such as Sorgeties, not to have a football season, not to have a basketball season. Girls tennis is taking place, as is girls and boys soccer, both. Yeah, because they were both fall sports. But the higher risk, basketball, football, and wrestling, they opted not to have. I believe Kingston did go with football and basketball. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought I caught that somewheres because I know there was quite a gathering of group of players that were, spoke out in favor to the Board of Ed, allowing them to have a season. But everything is a very, very modified season. Obviously, with high school baseball, high school softball, not being able to even start practicing until the 19th of April, they can't start Scholastic League games until the beginning of May. I want to say that's either May 2nd or 4th, whatever that first Monday is of the of the month. I believe it's the 4th.
Yeah, and they're hyphenated shortened seasons.
Yes.
They're I don't know. It's an odd side effect, and it's only meaningful to a degree. But young athletes who have dedicated from 7th grade till their senior year to a sports program and maybe had a chance at a record or had a chance at a championship or something like that, have all been denied that opportunity. It's kind of a sad side effect.
True. And I know that was the case last year where a couple of seniors on the baseball team had that opportunity. Obviously, did not get to play, as everything was about a year ago yesterday, I think, when basically they closed the schools, things began to shut down, and actually the last event of a fairly large gathering was I'm trying to think. It would have been the Saturday prior to St. Patrick's Day, because St. Patrick's Day would not have fallen on a Saturday, but that was the St. Patrick's Day dinner up at Rip Van Winkle Country Club.
Yep.
And then after that, everything just went completely downhill. And this morning, the Ulster Chamber is doing their breakfast virtually, and they'll be naming the honorary Irish Person of the Year. So the tradition is still continuing, but in a virtual setting for the time being, as is so many things.
Perfect. And the late Bill Yash is not from the chamber. I got to look in my phone for the organization, but he's getting recognition from an Irish American organization posthumously, I believe, today.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and that's well deserved. He was so proud of his heritage, and he really celebrated it and made everyone else part of it, which was terrific. So nice to see him getting that recognition.
Yes, it is, and he was actively involved with the Hooli, many events.
Yeah, he was one of the founding members.
Yes.
And boy, what a successful event that turned out to be.
And talk about somebody, when you were mentioning, talk about somebody that really takes to celebrating. Larry Thornton. Shout out to Larry Thornton and Sorgeties. He celebrates St. Patrick's Day all month long.
Yeah.
And of course, his birthday is today. Shoot, I should have sent his name in. Shame on me. Forgot all about it.
Both of us missed that opportunity.
Yeah.
today is his birthday, and
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think they do green cow pies, so he probably wouldn't have accepted it.
maybe not. Maybe not. But they're delicious, so I wouldn't mind if there was one around.
You know what one of my favorites is this time of the year? Is the Irish soda bread.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Irish soda bread. I'm not a big corned beef person. As you know, I'm not a big meat person to begin with. I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm not big into corned beef, but certainly love cabbage, and I love that Irish soda bread.
That is delicious, and I like corned beef, too. A lot, actually. I haven't had it yet this year. I think we're going to have it tonight.
And then I remember years ago when Lockman's was still in business, when they would do the hot cross buns.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Those
in fact,
too.
There was one Wednesday, Walter was still alive. I think Jeremy was still on the show. Greg was on the show. And I brought hot cross buns in. And Greg scolded me for doing that because he said once he starts eating them, he can't stop.
Yeah, I've been there before. That happens.
But they are good. And as you also know, I'm not a big sweets person, but hot cross buns, boy, I can remember them. Lockman's used to do it, and then the Corner Bakery at the corner of Jane and Partition Street many moons ago.
What Corner Bakery? I don't remember that one.
The Corner Bakery was at the corner of Partition and Jane Street. It would be the north west corner of Jane and Partition.
Okay.
I want to say the family that ran it, I want to say Gentner's. Now, if Mrs. R is listening, she might know, or anybody. But, the corner. Well, I grew up on Jane Street, so there was just a little walk, and that was, we had two great bakeries right dead smack in the Village Business District for many years.
Wow. We do have bakeries again. I mean, Hudson Valley Desserts, their stuff is great. And then the coffee shops also have a lot of nice wares. So there's opportunities to get homemade and fresh-made pastries almost daily.
Yeah, and even though I haven't had anything from there, people talk very highly about the Melt-A-Way in the Heights.
Delicious. Yeah, it's delicious. They do a great job. They have many of... Drew used to work for the Lockman family. So his the Melt-A-Way cake and all that reminds you of those experiences as a kid, and they're delicious.
Oh, so that is who's running it? Drew that used to work for Ralph?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yep. Yeah, he's doing it. And they've been doing very well. It's a small spot. They're open 4 days a week, I think, and Thursday through Sunday. And, it's busy, and his stuff is excellent.
Well, that's good to hear, because I often wonder, maybe I just go by at the wrong times. And what do they got? They got a drive-through too, huh?
It's not a drive-through. It's a very tight space. It's amazing he's able to produce as much food as he is out of there. But you walk in, there's a back door. You walk in, it's restricted right now because of COVID, but you only could fit a few people in there anyway. And him and his wife Bridget run it, and you find your way in the back door. They have an L-shaped display case, and then behind the display case they have shelves of things that are generally warm that just came out of the oven, and you pick it, and then you go back out. It's really clean, kind of nice.
I think we have Mrs. R on,
yes.
Fred.
Oh, good.
That's correct. You do have Mrs. R on.
Good morning.
Good morning, and a happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
Likewise to you.
Something green, too. Do you have anything green on?
I don't.
You don't. Shame on you.
I know.
And if you lived here in my building, you would not be getting an Irish cream puff.
Uh-oh.
Because I told everybody in the building here, if you want an Irish cream puff, you have to have green on.
You know, I never even gave it any thought, and then on the drive in from my house, it dawned on me it was St. Patrick's Day.
Because what I do, I make these cream puffs up, and I use pistachio cream. What I use pudding, a package of the instant pudding, and a cup of milk, and a pint of heavy cream. And I fill the cream puffs with that, and I use that because it's got a little bit of a green tint to it.
I see.
I call them Irish cream puffs, so that's what I'll be giving out today here. But if you were here, you wouldn't get one because you don't have your green.
I don't have any green, so I'm barred.
Yeah.
So
you were talking about the Meltaway, and that is a good place. And they had their hot cross buns. He's got the recipe from Lockman's, because he used to work for him, and he got, you get those wonderful hot cross buns from him.
Okay. Jeez, I may have to swing in there, but I better throw some green on.
Right. But he sells out fast too, because he had been closed for a while because he had shoulder surgery.
Oh.
And he just opened up recently.
Oh. Okay.
And a lot of people have been going there, because my son Frank had went by one time too. He wanted to get the cross buns, and there was a big long line. And when he got up to the window, they were gone. There was no more hot cross buns. They were all sold out. So last week he went very early before Mass, because we go to the 8 o'clock Mass, and I don't know what time they're open, but anyway, he went there and he was able to get them. So he got me a dozen and himself a dozen. So I shared a few of them here. But if you want nice, wonderful hot cross buns, you can get them there.
Now, I don't know if you were listening a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I was. I know about the bakery.
The Corner Bakery.
The Corner Bakery, yeah.
Now, who was that run by a family, Genthners?
That I don't know.
Okay.
You remember the bakery, though, obviously?
I do remember a bakery there, but I don't know who the owners were.
Okay.
And I'm not a corned beef person either.
Yeah, it's for some reason.
When they closed?
What was that? I'm sorry.
I'm wondering when that one closed, because it's weird that I don't have a memory of it at all.
Oh boy, I'd want to say. Good question. Maybe late 70s.
Late 70s. Okay. Yeah, I guess so. Could be.
I don't know. It's I'm just taking a wild shot in the dark.
Well, it definitely could be.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah. To be real, I'm trying to think. I would have been 74, 5, 6. I was in first grade. So, yeah, if they closed in that time frame, I wasn't probably paying attention.
Maybe it could have been earlier. Maybe it was earlier.
Probably in that range. I remember going to Lockman's with my mom, especially if we were getting company. That was a big deal to go there and get eclairs and everything else. It was fun, and the black and white cookies were really good there as well.
Yeah, the black and whites, I really like those too.
I really love those.
Yeah, their stuff was very good. At Lockman's, everything was so nice and fresh, and so they did a good business, and a lot of people liked them, and they really were sad when they had closed. But I'm glad now, the Meltaway is open, so we can get some of the things that Lockman had made.
Yeah, it became accustomed to. That was fun. Yeah. I got to ask my dad about the Corner Bakery.
Oh, he'll remember it.
He'll remember it, and he was a kind of a sweets aficionado back in the day.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
Well, thank you very much for calling in, Mrs. R., and you have an awesome St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you.
Before we let her go, are they doing corned beef at the mill somehow?
So, have yourself a good day, and okay. And
sorry,
happy St. Patrick's Day to you, and
155.
You can find some green, put some green on.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah.
Okay, so enjoy your day, and again, happy St. Patrick's Day to you, and keep well and safe, and I enjoyed listening to you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, bye.
Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
So, Fred, we've got the Ulster County Community Action is bringing their farm stand is coming to Sorgady's. Beginning on Friday, April the 23rd, every fourth Friday of the month thereafter, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. or until supplies last. Giveaways with representatives from our weatherization, Empower, and Head Start programs. Available for information and questions. Location is the Frank Greco Senior Citizens parking lot. And please remember to wear your mask, follow directions, remain in your vehicle at all times for your safety and the safety of our staff and volunteers. Staff will place items in your vehicle trunk, so make sure it is clean and leave them room to put that food into your trunk. Free fresh fruit and vegetable distribution. Those will be on certain dates, which are highlighted on their calendar, which is can be very, very easily found on their website. And in Sorgady's, that first one would be the fourth Friday in May the 28th. And then it looks like they're doing it also in June, on June 25th, July 23rd, and September 24th, October 22nd. So there'll be ample opportunities for fresh fruit and vegetable distribution. And again, it's the fourth Friday of the month, beginning on April the 23rd, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Frank Greco Senior Citizens Center parking lot.
And, this program is totally anonymous, so folks that are in need don't have to feel any sort of self-conscious way. This is available to anyone who is in need. And I want to give a little shout-out to Marjorie Block. She really spearheaded the effort to try to bring the program here. And, hopefully it goes very well. I imagine it will. But, I think it was uplifting for us, Greg, when we did the resiliency program to help as many people as we did. And I think there's still people out there who are in need. So this will be another platform for them to get some fresh food and some assistance.
Yes, and I agree with you. I feel the same way. There are still residents out there that are in need, having a hard time meeting ends, and it's great that this is coming to Sorgady's.
Yeah, we're excited. Another good thing, and it'll be in the parking lot. I mean, I think the press release mentioned that, but you don't have to go inside the building. There's very minimal contact with anyone. You just drive up. They'll have their staff there to place the wares inside your vehicle, and then you basically just drive away. So you have very little contact with anyone. So hopefully by then we're less COVID sensitive, because things seem to be going in a good direction. But for folks that may have that concern, that's already been anticipated, and you will not have to expose yourself in any way.
Good program.
I do feel like we're coming along, though, Greg. Don't you feel a sense of optimism about things are starting to turn?
I do. I'm very encouraged in the direction that we are headed. I'm disappointed to see governments in quite a number of states that, just rather than holding back for another 4 weeks, 6 weeks, that have opened up 100% and in full. And when you see those scenes from the Florida beaches, the Texas beaches, the St. Patrick's celebrations that are going on, it makes you a little nervous. And with the fact that there's about a dozen or 15 states that have seen a slight uptick in the past week, ironically, with the exception of New York State, all of the Northeast states, when they painted that on the map last evening, with the exception of New York State, all of the Northeast states have been experienced a slight uptick. And then, of course, the news yesterday, north of the border, with Ontario, with the outbreak that they're now experiencing. You know, we see what's going on over in Europe, over in the UK, and for these governors to open up 100%, I just think is wrong. It was bad enough before they made the announcement that they were opening up 100%, because a lot of establishments and a lot of people were under the mindset, you know, we're at 100% and we don't have to wear a mask and we don't have to social distance. So he just, especially the Texas governor, in listening to him, and I just don't want to single him out, because Mississippi was another state, Florida was another state, to come out publicly from the governor's office, from the governor himself, and make those statements, I just think is wrong.
It's, you know, we've invested so much to get as far as we have, and to just give up now seems kind of bizarre to me. Plus, I can say from our own experience, regardless of the restrictions on the number of people that are allowed inside, there's folks that would come to our restaurant 3 times a month who might come once, but they pick it up on the sidewalk, and they're still doing that out of concern for their safety. You know, people who have comorbidities or whatever age, whatever risk they may be at, those folks, they don't care if it's 100% or not. They're not prepared to go out into a situation and expose themselves. And I think that is probably the case even in the states where they're opening up 100%. Many of those businesses, there's restaurants with their dining rooms will not fill up. And the ones that do hopefully do not create events where people bring that back to their home state after they've gone on vacation for a week. I think that's what everybody's worried about more than anything else, especially when you see all those young folks celebrating spring break the way they are.
Now, were you surprised with the governor announcing that, I believe it's as of April 1st or April 2nd, if you travel within the United States and come back into New York State, you no longer have to quarantine or get a COVID test?
A little bit surprised, but I think it's somewhat an acknowledgement of the reality that people who were traveling by car were not doing that anyway. And there was a large inability for state and local officials to even track that stuff. And so I think that to the degree that they were doing that with airport travel, I think that was there was a way to enforce those rules and to try to make sure that people were quarantining. But the folks that are traveling by car were just doing it and not telling you anyone. I think there's probably, as a policy, I don't think it was as effective as they hoped, and I think maybe they're just giving up because people weren't doing it anyway. And now when the contact tracers are calling folks that have been infected, that's one of the questions they're asking, and it just makes it more complicated when you may have to consider that you were at a family's house in Pennsylvania or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the motivation for wanting to loosen things up, though. I think, you know, there's kind of like a pent up, waiting to exhale moment in our near future. I hope we do it in a way that reflects the investment that we made trying to stay apart. It's a challenge.
Yeah,
I think too, great for the tri-state area. You know, there's so much, especially for folks that might work in or around New York City. You know, crossing the George Washington Bridge, you went from New York to New Jersey. And
right.
There's folks that may do that 2 times a day. And
Well, the Northeast, I think there were 7 states, including Pennsylvania. They had been exempt anyway. You know, I was talking about people coming from Florida, people coming from Texas, California. You know, outside of that 7-state region where you didn't have to, just obviously like being so close to the Connecticut border, the Massachusetts border. People in New York State work in Connecticut. They work in Massachusetts. You go further up the line, there's probably people that work over in Vermont. And there's certainly a lot of people that, especially as you get down towards the metropolitan area, that work in Jersey, in Connecticut, and are making that trip, like you said, a couple times a day. We are at the bottom of the hour, and with that, we've just got to take a break, and we'll be back with Police Chief Tinty, and we'll see who he brings along.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Screening exams for breast, lung, or colorectal cancers are necessary to detect and treat disease at its earliest, most curable stage. But you may have some concerns and questions. Answer your questions and ease your fears by visiting radiologyinfo.org. In addition to information on screening and wellness, you'll find more than 200 descriptions of radiologic exams, procedures, and treatments to help you prepare. Get informed and be prepared. Visit radiologyinfo.org, produced by the Radiological Society of North America and the American College of Radiology.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Hi, my name is Jackie Lovezzo. I'm from Lake Katrine, and I support the Kingston Community Radio because it is an invaluable resource to the community and its residents.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by the First Savings Bank in Ulster County that still remains local to this day. Ulster Savings Bank, a community bank that's invested in local business, invested in community, invested in you. Ulster Savings Bank, your one-stop resource for everything local. Locations throughout the Hudson Valley and online at ulstersavings.com. Member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, listeners. And in the studio here this morning, we have got Police Chief Tinty.
Good morning.
And his lovely bride, who brought quite an ensemble of syrup and waffles.
Yeah. Oh, see, I got the. Look at that. Watching it on YouTube, too.
331-9255 is our call-in number. We'd love to hear from you. Supervisor Costello, are you still with us virtually?
I'm still here.
Oh, boy, what you're missing out. I'm going to send you a picture in a minute, you and McKenna.
A lot of sweets.
I made extra because I thought he was going to be here. I made lots.
I was planning on being there. Thank you for thinking of this.
All right, go on. You're up. You got it all set up. I was going to talk about city business, but we might as well eat and talk.
You can eat and talk, right?
Yeah. And I'm just going to send this to our two supervisors. We're going to get very jealous.
Thanks, pal.
The way you position it in front of the camera. Is that,
you like that?
Product placement? Is that what that's called? Product placement?
All about that.
He's a marketeer.
What's that?
He's a marketeer.
That's right.
He knows how to market.
All right, so
Waffles.
hopefully the waffles are
Give us
still
a description
warm.
of what we got going on there. You brought a number of syrups. You have pancakes too?
So anyway, for the listeners that aren't viewing, she's preparing a plate of, I guess you could say, Belgian waffles.
Yes.
And we have a variety of the
forks.
syrups that we produce. Our family produces maple products in the spring time frame. Starting in about end of January, middle of January, we start tapping our trees. And right around the end of February, beginning of March, sap starts to run, and we start to boil and produce syrup. And then I don't know what the proper term is. I guess it's not really flavored. They're more
infused.
of an infused.
So I brought with me today our 3 most popular maple syrups. I have the Whiskey Barrel Aged maple syrup, cinnamon stick, and vanilla bean. So I do try to, well, I say we try to, excuse me. I say that a lot.
It's also included in this is our sugar maker, Ryan Kuhn, who's not able to join us today.
Ryan's not here. So for our Whiskey Barrel maple syrup, every year I go to Hudson Valley Distilleries over in Germantown, and I get a whiskey barrel the day they empty it, so that the wood is still saturated with the whiskey. And we pour right from the evaporator. So the syrup is 219, 220 degrees, right in there. Goes right into the empty whiskey barrel where it sits for several weeks. And we kind of roll it around. And it takes on the flavor of the whiskey. So when we empty the barrel, of course, we have to filter it many times because sometimes there's chips of wood, there's from inside the barrel. So we filter and bring it back up to a boil, so there's no alcohol in the syrup, but you can still taste the flavor of the whiskey.
That was going to be my question to you. What is the alcoholic content?
No, well, it gets boiled off, but it still maintains the flavor. So you're going to have to open that and just wait.
Okay.
So you can smell it.
And this is what you recommend out of the...
No, you're going to try all of them.
Oh, I'm going to try all of them. Oh.
So this is actually our most popular one is the vanilla bean. So this one I get vanilla beans, Madagascar vanilla beans, and they are inside the bottle. And this is the syrup is already filtered when it goes into the other syrups. So I have here vanilla bean and cinnamon stick. So I'm going to let you try all of these.
I got the whiskey barrel on 1 1/4 waffles here.
So did you smell it? Can you smell the...
Yes, yes.
So let me bring this into him.
So now we're going to go with the cinnamon. Fred, did you get the picture?
He hung up. Didn't want to be part of it. Maybe he's on the way over.
Yeah, I'm going to sneak in.
Is your mouth watering?
Yeah, that's a really impressive spread.
So for those viewers and listeners that are not able to be here today, enjoying the waffles and the maple syrup, we do have an open house coming up at the end of March.
Yes, the 27th and 28th. Between 10 and 5 at our farm. Usually the New York State Maple Association does what's called Maple Weekend. It's the last 2 weekends in March. But with COVID, they are not sponsoring it this year. But as long as you are able to follow the guidelines set by the state, and we're fortunate enough that we're pretty much outside. I mean, we are able to set up and socially distance, and we are telling everyone to wear a mask. And we are having our open house.
Delicious.
Delicious?
Delicious.
Thank you. Yeah, there's many hours in the sap house. I can't tell you. Sometimes.
What's the date of that?
That is March 27th and 28th.
Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we run an open house. I mean, in the past, it depends on the weather conditions, obviously. Yeah, we may not have sap to boil. We usually reserve some just for the weekend in case, just to kind of show the process. But we have been doing it for quite some time on our property. And even before we bought this farm property, this old dairy farm from Frank Brooks, has quite a few stands of maple in the back. So we started doing some buckets and the traditional old bags, and then we moved up to lines and now vacuum. And so every year we progress a little bit further, a little bit more little bit harder as we progress through, and it's turned out from a hobby into a small business. But yeah,
yummy, yummy.
So at our open house, we will be making waffles right there as people arrive, so they can, and we give them a waffle, and they can taste the different syrups.
Yeah,
Oh, yum.
people see the operation, they can take a walk through the woods and see some of the lines and whatnot, and just get an overall view. I mean, a lot of people come back just because they like to see Ryan do his thing in front of that big evaporator we have. But
You should have brought him along.
I tried. Listen, even this morning, I'd sent him a text like, "Hey, we're still on," and he hasn't replied back. I know he's a busy man, so. But no, he does great, and the whole family kicks in. I can't tell you. We've talked about it before on the show. The entire family takes part in all this, whether it's the tapping, whether it's the line pulls, whether it's the vacuum assembly, whether it's we do it all, and we're very fortunate that way. But this is the end product right here, and on top of it, whether it's the labeling, that the kids take part in as far as creation, and
That's Christina. I have to. My stepdaughter Christina is amazing. She's an amazing graphic designer, and she has done all of our labels, all of our stickers, and gives a lot of very good, helpful advice. She is just amazing.
And they come over they split wood, they stack wood, they move wood, that's because everything we do is a traditional wood-fired evaporator. An arch is the product underneath the pans. And so the evaporator are the pans and the arch is underneath. And so we use a wood-fired evaporator, the arch. And just the amount, when I tell you, Ryan, the amount of wood we go through to keep that thing going every 4 minutes he's got a timer set. So every 4 minutes he whips open that door. It's, 2.5 by 2.5 foot door. He opens that door and fires in this load of wood and shuts it and brings the boil back up. And, he does that for 8, 10, last weekend was 12 hours we ran. We fired it up at 8. We started closing it down at 8. And there's time clean up and, rinsing and everything else. Because we have, in order to really kind of maintain a good flavor for the syrup, the pans, the tubing, all the holding tanks, everything has to be cleaned. You can't, it's a sugar product, so there's bacteria growth on it. So you got to really stay on top of it. And so we're on it. And but he has, I think this is the 3rd year with this evaporator, and I really don't foresee us ever going to anything larger than this. This is a big machine for us. And he has got it dialed in. He knows that thing, every little sound it makes, every little creak, he knows where it's coming from. So once he lights that first match and gets it going, we just leave him alone.
Yeah,
we just keep bringing him wood. Don't talk to him. Yeah,
get in Ryan's way. Although I do every 4 minutes, I do try to step a little closer so I can get the heat because it's kind of cold up there.
Yeah, and the arch itself, it's
a really good video of Ryan feeding feeding the evaporator. I saw that on Facebook.
Yep, that was me. I posted that last weekend because it is impressive. It's every 4 minutes.
And that was staged, right? So he knew he was being taped, but when he's in his zone, he just does his thing. And it's impressive to see it. Like, all you saw was the door open, him firing in some wood and closing it, and the boil, the steam change. But when you see him adjust the float boxes, depending on how much sap is coming in, the content and the boil rate, and he's always moving around that evaporator and like playing an instrument. Really, it's impressive. And initially the old evaporator would sit around and tell stories, throw a piece of wood in once in a while, but now it's actually become something you can't just walk away from.
Wow. So quantity wise, how much maple do you produce a season?
Not enough, honestly. We right now we're at just under 60 gallons for the season, kind of light so far. We're hoping that this next week.
Well, it's been cold. Like today, it's yesterday, today, the last few days, it's been too cold.
You really need a good freeze at night and high temperatures. Today they're calling for a high temperature, 45, 50. So we want that draw. That creates that pressure in the tree that pulls it out. So. But we do mix regular gravity-fed tubing with the tubes are all connected to collection points.
So the ideal scenario is below freezing at night and like 55, 60 degrees.
Correct. When the temperature stays above 40 at night and goes to 60 during the day, nothing happens. The tree's not, there's nothing there, right? So you really need a plunge at night, 17, 18, 20 degrees, and a good increase of 40, 45 during the day, and usually that happens in March. And the last couple of days it's been too cold. The temperature only gets up to 34 degrees during the day. So it's difficult because a lot of times we just want spring to get here, summer to get here, but we rely on this to make the maple product. So it's all
tough.
weather
dependent. If it's too warm several days in a row and the trees start to bud, then that's it. You're done.
Yeah, pretty much the season's over then. And
there are some sugar makers who will go through the woods and re-tap the trees, drill a little deeper, and we don't do that. We've read that it's not really healthy for the tree, so we don't want to. We're already taken from them. We don't want to damage them.
Right.
Yeah, we don't over tap. There's a science, believe me. There's people that have been doing it a lot longer. We rely on some, I'll use the term lovingly, old timers out there that have been doing it a long time. But there's a lot of science behind it. When we used to go to the maple conferences up in Verona, there are scientists, actual scientists, that come in and talk about how to produce a better syrup, a purer syrup, how to collect more sap. So that you go from a traditional gallon per tap per day on a good day to 2, possibly 2.5 gallons, So when you talk about production, we're small. We do a couple hundred taps. But when you look at some of these maple producers up in Vermont and Canada, their farms are hundreds and thousands of taps that they do. And, they start in December to start tapping their trees. Because because you could never, when you're doing hundreds of taps a day and
that's
climbing
true,
the side of a mountain, it's you'd need either a lot of people or a lot of time. And again, it depends on the weather, right? And certain times we've been out there where we're walking through. When we tapped the initial set, we were walking through a foot of snow. It had just happened during the storm, and we were out there trudging through it, and no snowshoes type of thing, but enough to get in there. And a lot of it is in the woods. That's where the trees are, right? So you got to get in there. But and once you start to add vacuum, any breaks in the line, anything where a squirrel, a chipmunk starts to chew on it, because there's still a sweetness in there even after the cleaning. If you get that, they'll chew through the tube. And now you add vacuum where you're sucking, you're creating that negative pressure in the line. You'll hear and that's no good. You can't have that. It's not pulling enough. So now you got to go walk the line and listen in the woods for that noise, and then replace the line. We use tools that are designed to replace these maple lines. So, and part of it, like I said, is an encouragement to have some of the locals, and we have a lot of, during the maple weekends when it's advertised, we have city folk, and I'll say that city folk come up to the farms because it's a unique experience for them. But we encourage the locals to stop by. We're just outside the city, 6 miles, right on 209. And even if it's for a 15-minute tour through it, and say, I've heard of it, I've seen it online, and I want to get there. I want to see what sap tastes like. What is a hydrometer? Why do you measure sap sugar content on the sap, and what does that do for you? And we have a reverse osmosis pump that we use, small unit, and we got that idea from Marty's Maples up in Shokan, and Marty Giuliano was great to us. He kind of gave us a big lead on some of the production part of it, and I'll use this again lovingly. Marty's an old timer. He's been doing this for years, right? He knows this stuff, and so when you look at reverse osmosis, it's a process where you take a pump and a filter and you pull the sugar out, and we usually go from a 2% to about a 3.6%. So it means every time it takes 40 gallons of sap, to make 1 gallon of syrup. And the only way to do that is to boil it off. You can freeze the water out of it, which will get you a little bit more. So if you have open buckets and the ground freezes, in the morning you take out that ice, you've just increased, what's left is a bigger sugar content in that sap. So some producers will roll these big open tanks into these monster freezers, freeze it, lift the ice out, and now they have 4% or 6% maple sap in there. We use a mechanical system for reverse osmosis, so we get our sugar content from about 2 to about 4. The number varies. So now like the other weekend, we had 1,500 gallons of sap we had to boil. We RO'd, and now we reduced that to 1,000. So we didn't have to boil off 500 gallons of water, which is steam, which we're trying to get rid of, and the product that's left, that clean water, is used to clean. Because once you put it back in the pans, it'll actually pull everything into it as a hungry water that cleans the pan. So it's a process, and it took us a long time to get up there, and a lot of advice from guys like Marty and Warren, and really the local ones have helped us. The conferences help us. Some of it's trial by fire. We looked at that, and I know Ryan had some difficulty figuring out where the levels on the pans were initially, and he did it. And now we've got it dialed in. But the end of it all, the hard work is right there, right? What you just tasted is right there. So
absolutely, and boy, what a process! And I didn't even realize reverse osmosis system that you've got. We're familiar with it because we rely on that reverse osmosis system at the ice arena.
That's it.
Yep. But quite a process.
And now,
wow.
On top of that, you got somebody like Ryan who can run the evaporator in the arch faster than our small RO can keep up. So, for example, the other day, we RO'd down to about 1,000 gallons, but he was boiling it off faster than the RO could keep up. So we ended up putting regular, not RO'd sap in just to kind of keep the arch going, because we have to. So we're at the point now where we have to consider either upgrading to a larger reverse osmosis pump or just slowing down the operation. So we'll see. It's time for
Fred?
I'm still here. I'm just taken back. That's a lot of information.
I'm having a difficult time. I can't decide which syrup I like the best.
Well, I have some more things for you to taste.
All of them are so good.
She did come prepared to. What do you have? Granola there?
I have granola.
Oh my God!
Maple butter or something in there?
No, I have granola. I have this year. I made maple glazed pecans, which are so good. I have to stop myself from eating them. And maple biscotti. It's a maple spice biscotti. It has ginger in it. And chocolate maple mini cakes. So I have those for you to taste as well.
Lord.
Don't fill up on the waffles. I brought a lot of extra waffles because I thought he was going to be here.
I know. I really I picked the wrong day not to be in.
I haven't heard anything back from my Texas supervisor McKenna. He's probably kicking himself in the you know what. Because you did this, it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago now.
Yeah, I think we did it at the old station actually. We brought.
Oh yeah, we were.
Did it at the old one.
And Bill was there.
Yes.
And
there was a challenge. We had somebody else that was going to bring their syrup in. And,
right.
I used to laugh about it when you went to these conferences. Everyone would say, "Oh, my syrup's the best. My syrup's the best." And you're like, "What are you talking about? It tastes the same." It doesn't all taste the same, And then with the infused syrups, obviously we have the vanilla, the coffee bean. There's walnut. You do a whole bunch.
We do a lot. I try to use local products. So last year was the first year we did coffee bean. And I got the coffee beans. I bought them at Monkey Joe's in Kingston, trying to stay local. Mm-hmm. So it's the flavor of the syrup has a coffee flavor to it. It's delicious. We do a dried chili pepper, which is really good with breakfast sausage because it has a little bit of a kick to it. The syrup from the chili pepper inside the bottle. We don't use extracts. We use actual products. I know there's some. I've seen blueberry maple syrup, and there's no blueberries in the bottle. Well, we actually have blueberries in our bottle.
Oh,
we have organic blueberries, dried blueberries, and we have a cherry maple syrup, and that's used. I use organic cherries for that. We have walnut. What else do we have? I think that's it.
What it comes down to is all work. It's all work now. So,
well, yeah. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into it, but you're fortunate. You've got a large family that just has embraced it.
We couldn't do it without them. Honestly, I know some of them are listening. It could not happen what we're doing now, and we are blessed to have that. And
so anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and to the point even where my aunt and what used to be my mother, she passed. Now my aunt she comes there with food for us. Like we don't even have to think about that. That's her contribution to this family event that we do. And so it's good. It really is. Like I said, the kids are there. They pull the handle on the log splitter. They're stacking the wood in the pallets, and it's all about giving Ryan what he needs to get this syrup going. So
our family is just amazing.
Next year we're going to have to drag Ryan in here.
I did try. I gave him a heads up, but I know he's busy.
What I started to say is, so after our show last month, I don't know if it was the following Sunday or 2 Sundays afterwards, Brandon Harkin works Sunday mornings. So, of course, I exaggerated, blew it way out of proportion. So I said, my God, I said, you're like the second coming of Christ, the police chief. And then I went on and on and on. He started to get red.
Well, he is your favorite nephew.
He is. Yes, he is. Yeah, I do love nothing more than to bust on him as much as I possibly can. Yeah.
Well, me too.
Yeah. No, it's very good. So I encourage anyone who's interested. Fred, the invitation's to you as well. Please, if you got time to come out that Saturday and Sunday just to stop by and taste it, we'll have everything ready to go. So.
Going to definitely make it a point, Jen and I, because she'd love it. The only problem is, you say you take a 15-minute tour the way she is, she'll be there for 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh, we have people show up. They bring chairs. They just sit there and watch the whole thing go on, and it's good. It doesn't hold us back. We're not,
it would be fun.
Yeah, we've actually not last year because we didn't have, with COVID, obviously we didn't have it last year, but the year before we had a couple of people from City Hall had come. And they went on a hike. They went through the woods. About 3 hours later, they're back. And I said, "You've been here this whole time." I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, they go past our solar field in the back. They hit the rail trail. They go a couple miles either way and come back and make a day of it.
Oh, that's right up my alley. I like to walk. I like to hike.
Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty back there, and like I said, usually my son takes him for a tour. Elmo takes him for a tour of the lines, and we don't do buckets anymore. We try not to. We haven't put anything out, but Christina and Chris, they live just down the road from us, a couple of miles, and they have some very large maple trees on their property, and only a few, but still, and so it was definitely worth tapping those. Those are some old maple trees, and as soon as they've never been tapped from what we can tell. There's no markings on them at all, so as soon as we put a couple of taps in them, they just started gushing out. They were happy to get rid of that sap, so to speak, but
Right.
It's interesting. So.
And we try to do some kids' activities too. Every year I do like a tree identification, flashcards, a little game, try to get kids involved. And,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Try to get everyone involved.
Well, for us, it's the nature part of it, right? It really, I think I may have used this term before. We find ourselves to be kind of the steward of the land on this part of it, and all of us that work at this all have other full-time jobs and stressful full-time jobs. I think that sometimes pull us away from doing stuff. So these events like this do have the opportunity to bring the family together. And it's not just the maple; it's the weddings when we do our events out there. When people have weddings at the farm and our property. The family pitches in, and it's good. Everybody gets the joke and laugh and pick on Brandon, and so he's
poor Brandon.
Poor Brandon. We say it all the time. Leave him alone. Leave Brandon alone. But it's good. So I really hope that people show up and kind of just, even if they show up for a waffle and pick their favorite syrup, vote for their favorite syrup on it, and because that's always interesting, right? One year we'll say, "Wow, we sold out of chili," or "Wow, we're looking at the vanilla. We got to make more of that," or in some cases, the regular syrup sells, but everybody makes the regular syrup, right? We've said that before. There's you pick up a quart and stuff, and even people that don't, if it was there on the table, I'd reach for the maple syrup, right? That was the old way. Now I'm like, whoa, where's the maple, right? Where is that stuff? So it's interesting, but it is a lot of work, and I encourage people to come out and take a look at it for themselves and feel the steam, smell the smell of the sap boiling off, the tank system. It's been a lot of work. We spent a lot of long hours trying to put this together, and every year we expand it. We do something more that increases it. But we're looking for more sap and more time, and it's interesting. So
and cold temperatures at night and warm temperatures during the day.
It is, and it's good. We go out there, and this weekend we ended up cutting down a couple of trees that were dead that we knew were coming down on the line. So there's line maintenance every year. We've got to worry about them coming down. The lines are maintained by these long, heavy-duty cables that run through the woods, and they start at 2-3 feet off the ground and go up to about 4 or 5, and they are, with the one cable we have, over 800 feet. And it's you pull it tight, you maintain it up off the ground, you tie it off, and then you run the lines off of that. So there's quite a bit of work to maintain that as well. But
do you have? I know earlier you mentioned about squirrels. You have a lot of problems with squirrels and chipmunks?
There's some. I mean, certainly, if you talk to some of the main producers, they tell you to try to keep nut trees away from from their maple stands, try to, if you have to, cut them down, but we're not about that. We are certified with the DEC now as part of the land management program. So we have a forester consultant come in once a year, Lori Raskin, and she actually helps us maintain the property to make sure we meet the standards for it, because we're not developing it, we're using it, the best we can, but we are taking care of it. We recognize it's an investment. So whether it's for us, for the family, or whoever in the future, it's big, and because they're, to be honest with you, at least on your side of it, your kids have been exposed to things they would never have seen before, right? Snakes and squirrels and turtles and
Making maple syrup.
and making maple syrup.
Growing up in Kingston, it's not like we're making maple syrup every week.
We are at the top of the hour.
Real quick, though, a listener just called in and wants to know how she can purchase some. Does she come out to the house? If they wanted to buy some of your maple syrup?
Well, you can have the website, right? We have the website.
Okay, so give that information before we go to break.
Let me.
We'll have to look it up after the break.
1 second. Let me tell you, because we just opened our online store. So if they can hold on 1 minute, I will get that information.
Closer to the microphone.
Yeah, you can't.
Hold on 1 minute, and I will get that information.
Yeah, even that. We just try to make it easier. But if it's a local purchase, usually she can meet you. Or
Right, and I will, if it's local, I drop it off to their doorstep for free.
I think the furthest we've shipped it is Colorado. Is that
Colorado and Louisiana, we had some orders.
Yeah, not many
Right.
maples out there, I guess, so.
Cool.
Yeah. But it is. I encourage, just even if it's one time you come out there and look, we're not asking you to buy anything. We really are just trying to push the natural part of it. People have seen it. There's been a huge increase in farming and land tending and property management all over, so, you won't be able to drive our tractor or use the chainsaws at all, but you can come out and see how it's done. All right, we'll have to do it after.
We'll have to do it after, yeah.
We're going to go for a break, but we'll be back in a few, listeners, with part 2 of our Educational Wednesday.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Have you mixed your pain meds, your sleep meds, your allergy meds? Call the Poison Helpline. Has your child eaten a tube of toothpaste, a chip of paint, a wild mushroom? Call the Poison Helpline. Have you been bitten by a spider, a snake, an insect? Call the Poison Helpline. Poisonings can happen at the home, on the job, or in the great outdoors. Call the Poison Helpline first for fast, free advice from medical professionals. Call 1-800-222-1222 anytime, anywhere. 1-800-222-1222. Save the number, save a life. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and practice an escape plan for you and your loved ones. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This programming is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive.
Welcome back, listeners. 331-9255. And in the studio here is Chief Tinty, Kingston City Police Chief, with his lovely bride, Lissa. And I just filled my tummy with luscious waffles and 3 different types of syrup, and still can't decide which one I like the best. They're all so good.
More coming your way. She's
I
got
like
more
Whiskey
stuff.
Barrel
here.
Aged. That's the one I like.
Which one? The
This
whiskey?
one.
The Whiskey Barrel Age.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Whiskey
that's-
Barrel Age.
Yeah,
I like
this stuff
that.
is good. I mean, they're all really good, but this is good.
Yeah.
So before we continue, we do need to do birthdays, and I believe we have a couple this morning.
Lisa, go ahead.
Okay. Happy birthday to Kimberly Richter. Love your family. And that's your aunts, uncles, cousins, and all of your friends, and they're wishing you a great day.
And a very happy birthday to Dan Schrodel from his friends and family of Dan. Happy birthday, Dan.
And today's winner of the famous cow pie from Boy's Dairy Milk House is Kimberly Richter. Kimberly, when you get the opportunity, get down to Boy's Dairy Milk House, 62 O'Neill Street, right here in Kingston, New York. Pick up your famous cow pie, which is courtesy of Boy's Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. And listeners, please continue to send in the birthdays. It's very easy to do. You can email to kcr921@gmail.com. You can postal mail to Kingston Community Radio, P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. So once again, Kimberly Richter, a happy St. Patrick's Day birthday to you. Enjoy your cow pie. Enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. Have an awesome day.
All right, so what else you got?
So I did just, before we went on break, we were asked about getting the product online, and my stepdaughter Christina just made us this wonderful website, and it's so easy to use, and it is e-mapletrees.com. And it's super easy, and anyone local, I will do free doorstep delivery.
So say that once again.
It's e-mapletrees.com.
That's an easy one to remember.
Yeah, and it's such a great website. I can't thank Christina enough for setting that up. Nice and easy to use. So I did bring some other things for you to taste. So let's see. We'll start with, I don't know what's in this bag. So this is maple granola. I'm going to make 2 little plates here, one for each of you, so I don't have to try not to touch anything. And these
Missing
are
out, Fred. You're missing out.
He is. He really picked a bad day not to come. So I have the maple granola, and that has oats, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, craisins, coconut flakes, and of course maple syrup. This is maple spiced biscotti, and it has
There's
ginger.
no way I'm going to eat all of that.
Well, you can have it. Save it for later. And this is my favorite. This is our newest product. And these are the maple glazed
That's what
pecans.
That's what I was after.
They're so good. So let me give that to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I will leave that in the other room.
You're not having any?
No, I've had enough. I'm the taste tester at home,
He
so.
has to taste everything every day. And this here, I'll give you this.
That's got to be for later.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
not.
no
I'm
way.
not going to get through this. So don't throw those bags out. 'Cause
So you can take a look.
oh, good Lord.
Yeah, they're very good. And that is
And they must be
chocolate.
and they must be calorie free.
Yes.
Nice.
That's chocolate maple mini bundt cakes.
Yeah, a lot to enjoy there.
Now, I was saying earlier, if this was a, we're into our normal or our new normal, I wouldn't have been here today because I would have been at the Chambers St. Patrick's Day breakfast.
Right.
But if the 17th falls, well, next year the 17th will be on a Thursday. Right?
All right.
Yeah. Day
Again,
later.
I know we're somewhat hijacking the radio show from the traditional talk about what goes on in the city.
You got to get away. You got to get away from that
but
once
Maple
in a
season's
while.
really only 3 months for us, and we enjoy doing it. For us, it really is a family affair. Everybody participates, and so we want to share it with you. We're not trying to sell product. We're trying to sell the idea of the maple. I think that's important, and there's a lot of producers out there. I think all their products are great. Ours tastes the best, right? That's a traditional syrup maker usually says. But if somebody wants, I really encourage you to come out and see how much work this is. Anyone who's done it at home, where they have a tree in the backyard and tap it and go, wow, this is great. If they collect a gallon, you will get a tablespoon of syrup out of boiling it down. So, and you'll take the wallpaper off the wall if you do it in your house.
Steam up all the windows.
Now, for the last couple of years, the students at Saugerties East High School, they've been tapping the trees on the junior, senior high school campus. Nice. And they've got blue bags that are attached to the trees, and they've been collecting the syrup.
Yep.
So obviously they've got some kind of a program going, some kind of an education class, which is good.
That is great.
Which is good.
Absolutely.
And, also, you mentioned we're getting away from the traditional business. It's also, I think, for our listeners, you stop and think how many of our even our residents in the greater Kingston area are not even aware of the maple producing that is going on in the Kingston area, Ulster County.
Yeah. Actually, 2 years ago at Maple Weekend, we had a very large church group bring their children from Poughkeepsie. Because, who's tapping trees in a city? Nobody does it in Kingston or Poughkeepsie. It's not something you grow up with.
Right.
And we had, I think, one church, they called ahead to make sure it was okay. And of course it was. And they brought about 20 kids over so they can see exactly how this happens. Everybody it's on the table. Nobody knows where it comes from.
Yeah, the difference, right? We used to have taste testings of, Mrs. Butterworth or whatever it was out there, and maple syrup, and people have traditional corn syrup taste, right? So their expectation, but when they look and find out how the product is made naturally, right? There's no additives, right? We infuse the flavors, but there's nothing. You take sap, you boil it, you have syrup. There it is, right? And there's a science to it. You got to measure the sugar content to make sure it adheres to the product standards out there. But
right, and even our infused, like I said, it's not an extract flavoring. You can see in the bottle, there's the vanilla bean, there's the cinnamon stick. You can see the blueberries or see the cherries. They're in the bottle, and I always buy the most natural product that I can find because I don't want any added anything in there. I don't want any, chemicals. We just want an all natural product that we're producing.
I mean, and then the other component of that, myself as the chief of police, Elisa as the city clerk, Ryan as deputy superintendent of DPW for the city. It's good. I think it's good to show people that what we do outside of that, right? That we're not just city employees or government employees, or that we have other interests, and I think more importantly, that those interests kind of revolve around making, and it may be somewhat self-serving, but the world a better place, and, do we make money selling this stuff? No. No. When you put the cost per hour, we used to joke when we did, a couple of times we did presentations for different groups, and we get there, and I said, this gallon of syrup will cost you to buy it $50. We're making it for about $150, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to when you look at the hours of investment, the time it takes to split the wood, the equipment, the filtering, the cleaning, right? It's so much of a process today. We're not making any money on it, but we enjoy it, and as much as we kind of joke that March is Maple Misery Month for us, we say, all right, we're tapping the trees, right? And
March can't end fast
Sean
enough
from
for us.
Justice Maple out in Parksville, he's one of the suppliers for our equipment, and he says, he has a saying that I took from him, and he says, I'm happy to see you come, but I'm happy to see you go, because it's a lot, and And then once we get done with this, we clean up, we pull the taps, we clean the lines, put everything away, and now we're gearing up towards the summer. And with our property, we still have a lot of work that we're doing. We burn firewood for heat during the winter, so for us, we have to make sure we stay ahead of that, right? Cordwood and splitting and stacking and so on. And but there's a lot, right? And the wedding season starts August, so we'll have a couple of weddings. Well, usually once a weekend, we'll run a couple of weddings throughout the year. And again, it's great. The family all helps. In one particular case, they use our favors, whether it's the honey or the maple. They bottle it, right? Chris and Christina, for their wedding, they're actually putting out favors, right? Maple favors.
They were over this weekend bottling
They
They came over and did it right. They bottled their favors at the farm this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's interesting to see it, and even that, we make it so that, although it's our property and our farm, it really, whatever event we're holding, whether it's an agricultural event like the Maple Weekends or a commercial event, I guess the term would be like weddings, we're trying to make it the best anyone can have, and it's a big investment. For us, it's a big investment in our time, but it does. And we all recognize at any point, any of us could get called away, right? That Ryan could get called in for a sewer collapse, which I hope never happens. I could get called in for an event that takes place involving the police department, and you have to go in for an emergency. Well, I hate to say it, right? You get the calls for death certificates,
Right.
and
Sometimes there's a death.
religious needs, and
Right.
so we have to.
We'll
keep
get a
those
call
in.
from a funeral director. They need something immediately, and that's what we do. So there's always someone on call.
So for our listeners that might be interested in coming out the last weekend of the month, what is the address of your farm?
So it's New Beginnings Farmstead, 2585 Route 209. So if you're heading south on 209 and you see the Farm Hub farm stand, used to be Gill's farm stand, we're exactly 1.2 miles south of that on the left.
So I encourage our listeners to come out if you can that weekend and experience it firsthand. Even though I have a good comprehension from when you did this 2 or 3 years ago and what you were talking about last month and then, of course, today, but to actually see this visually, I'm looking forward to.
And if kids come, we have the sheep, and everybody likes to go over and pet the sheep, who are really giant dogs. They are so domesticated. But they can see the sheep and walk the farm.
Absolutely, yeah. They come out there, and the mayor and his wife and his family, their son have been out there, and they help with everything when they can. They watch the process and see it all unfold. They take tours, and it's different, right? Especially for I've been working for the city for nearly 30 years, and it's a different environment. They don't have the capability to go out and see the things that are offered here, and even just the rock formations we have somewhat different, right? The limestone and Stone Ridge, right? That's what they call it. So there's a lot going on there, but like you said, there's other city employees. Sean came out with his fiance, and they're just looking through the property, and it's just a good time. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. We've had it where it's been rainy days and snowy days, but hopefully the weather will cooperate for the 27th and 28th. And even if they come out and huddle around the steam, look at it and see what's going on. And you can't really ask Ryan any questions. His wife Jenny's there. She's usually putting out the pancakes. And
Jenny will make the waffles. Usually Margaret helps with the waffles, and Allie. And that's the one day all my kids are happy to help. But
Yeah. And what are the hours on Saturday and Sunday?
10 to 5, we said,
yes,
right?
10 to 5.
Yeah, so it's interesting. But we encourage
Don't eat
everyone to
before you come.
I will give you a
Obviously, don't eat before you come. And maybe
Fresh
don't
waffles.
eat the day before either.
And it just, I'm in uniform now. I'm cleaned up, I could say. But when I'm out there, I'm not. It's a whole different look that I have, right? My overalls, my work boots, and I may shave, may not. We'll see what happens. But usually I try to, she usually tells me, hey, you got to clean yourself up. People are coming. Company's coming. Clean yourself up.
You can't look dirty.
You can't look like that, so. But, so we're very fortunate. We do encourage people to come out there. I think that's important to see that operation part of it. And if you come out and grab a cup of coffee and a pancake, put on your favorite syrup, and then we can.
Keep saying pancakes. Waffles.
I'm sorry,
I make
waffles. Well, didn't you make pancakes once?
No,
There's always waffles?
Always made waffles.
I'm busy. I'm busy bringing in the firewood for Ryan, so I'm not paying attention. But no, please, if you have something, you just come out there 15, 20 minutes. There's a lot of parking, obviously, because we have the weddings. There's plenty of parking. Hopefully it won't snow.
We always have the coffee going, and I make maple coffee, so you can have a cup of coffee with some maple syrup in it. It's delicious.
Yep. And then once it's shut, we've had people, honestly, come both days, right? We've had local people come up. They'll stay there Saturday, and they'll come back Sunday morning when we're firing it up, and so it's good.
Well, why not?
I know. You get free breakfast,
especially
right?
if they're visiting, they would have to go to a diner. Who would want to go to a diner when you can get treated with this there?
And, especially this year, I think people are just looking for something to do with their family.
Get out.
Absolutely.
They want to get out.
And we've decided we're gonna set up an area outside so people can taste the product and not be concerned. If they stay in their group, they can taste everything.
Yeah.
We've gotten the guidelines sent from the New York State Maple Association, and we're just hoping that it's a nice day so families can come out and enjoy doing something together outside.
Right. Yeah, and again, I mean, I know I just said it, but it's worth repeating. People have just got to the point, and unfortunately, you're seeing this in other places in the country where I think they've gone way too far with relaxing. I understand people want to get out, and I know myself, I can't wait for the weather. I hate winter to begin with, okay? And by the way, the reason we had the worst February in 32 years, and the National Weather Service confirmed that, it's because the first time in 32 years, we didn't go south. For at least a week. That's what it started at, a week, okay? So that's why we had the worst February in 32 years. Right, Fred? You can blame me? He must have.
He's out.
Moseyed off.
Can't take it anymore.
You know what? He was probably getting so hungry and his stomach was so grumbling, he probably ran down to the local diner to get waffles and maple syrup. But
we heard you talk about sweets on the way in, so we figured that this would be a good
Oh, he might have went to the Melt-A-Way. Maybe that's where he went for hot cross buns.
Yeah, so actually, probably next radio show, it won't be about maple.
No.
Well, we'll know it won't be about maple, but there are a lot of things to talk about. I know the city's moving forward on a lot of this with the stimulus money coming in. That'll be a good push.
That was some great news for
That is
Ulster
great
County.
news. That is great news.
I think the only other
vaccination sites, great news. You had it. I'm going for the second one.
I get my second shot next week.
So that's great.
My father's has both shots, and your son Elmo gets his second one today.
This morning, he's going for his second vaccination. So it's good. We're definitely moving in the right direction.
Yes.
We got to be, there's a lot of precautions, obviously, but even from the police side of things, we're looking forward to kind of getting back out to the community. We've had meetings, and there's still a lot of work to be done. There are some people out there that think that we're not doing enough. I understand that. There are limits to what we can do. At some point, if we're going to talk about some of the recent events, we've had some additional shootings take place in Kingston. There's no set pattern, no time frame. We are investigating them. But the fact is, at some point, and we've got to ask the community to step up, right? And I've said that. I've asked community leaders, you need to step up. And I think I've got to take it to the next level on what my requests are going to be, whether it's investigative equipment, whether it's additional manpower, whether it's additional training for the officers. And I know that's not a popular thing to do right now, right? There's a lot of anti-police sentiment, and defund the police is still out there. But the fact of the matter is we are still at this time the responding and necessary response to events. We had our officers do an incredible job the other day dealing with an individual who was suicidal. They got her to drop the knife, talked her off the roof, and even and the officers admitted it was an elevation issue, right? Being up there, you got to be careful about a lot of things, and they did a great job on that, and those things aren't always publicized. That it's just part of the job, right? It's part of what we do. but the public has to understand that the officers are out there day and night. For Kingston, it's 24/7, 365, and we're doing a phenomenal job. The officers do respond to calls. They are out there enforcing things with the balance of community mindedness, right? So even people, I don't know why I got the ticket. Well, you're right. Maybe you didn't deserve it. However, the officer at that time thought that you needed to speak to the judge, right? That's what it comes down to. Sometimes a warning's effective, sometimes it's not. It depends. And a lot of it is determined by the interaction that takes place. There has to be a development or an understanding of mutual respect. The officer has a responsibility and a job to do. The driver has to at least acknowledge, okay, I may have screwed up, right? And if they don't know, they don't know. Equipment violations are the ones that come to mind. You're driving along, you don't know your taillight's out. You know, if you're driving an older car that doesn't have the capability to show you that on the dash, some of the new ones do, but you get pulled over, you're thinking, well, why am I getting stopped? I'm not speeding. I didn't go through a stop sign. Officer says, oh, you either failed to signal or your taillight's out, and now I didn't know that, right? And the officer might say, okay, listen, do yourself a favor. You're heading home or get it fixed, right? Or here's a ticket. You have 24 hours to get it fixed. Done. That's it. But I have said it before. I'll say it again. The place to discuss it, sometimes argue is what happens, is not at the scene where an officer encounters a civilian in the population. It's not. The courtroom is. That's where it's got to happen. If you feel that that ticket was not just in any way, take it to the judge. Let the officer present his or her evidence, and you present yours. And at that point, and at least for Kingston, we have dash cams, we have mobile cameras, body cameras. We can support any type of allegations of officers stopping a vehicle. You know, 50 years ago, oh, my taillight wasn't out. Oh, okay, well, now I'm showing it on video. Your taillight's out, or you failed to signal, one of them, right? And so it's a difficult balance, and I think we've learned a lot over the last year with COVID, with George Floyd, with the events, the protests. I think that all through it, even though it may not have been well publicized, our department, every department in Ulster County has participated in making sure that the protests, any type of organized events, even against police officers, we have been there. We have been there to make sure that the public is protected. There was one event in Kingston where they were screaming, defund the police, defund the police, defund the police. But the cops were on the corners directing traffic away from this event to make sure that those individuals could walk down Broadway saying what they said.
Safely.
That's what it comes down to, right? So a lot of it has to be, and I know I'm a cop. I've been a cop. As I mentioned before on the show, my son just got picked up as a police officer. And again, not my doing. This was on his decision. I never encouraged it or discouraged it. It's a tough decision when you look at that as a young person. But I believe that he, and many coming his way. We picked up quite a few in the last year. They have a huge opportunity to kind of make the changes that a lot of the public are asking for now. They have to keep that in mind, whether it's procedural justice, whether it's a difference in de-escalation tactics or limited use of force, right? But the fact of the matter is that, when I review body cam footage, we still deal on a regular basis with individuals that have resisted arrest. That when the officer says, okay, you're under arrest, that person says, no, I'm not, no, I'm not, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. Put your hands behind your back. And there may be, I give pause sometimes because I know sometimes people will say, well, you don't understand what that individual is going through. I get it. The behavior is what we're addressing, right? At that point, we try to give them the help. If it's a person is screaming in the middle of the street at 2 o'clock in the morning, that behavior has to be addressed. They can't do that. They may need mental health services. They may need alcohol, substance abuse services. But all I know as a responding police officer is this individual is in the middle of the street screaming at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've got to do something. Arrest is not always the answer. I recognize that. But in some cases, if it's criminal behavior, arrest is the answer. And with changes in bail reform and some of the legislation, it has made things somewhat challenging. Somewhat frustrating sometimes, where individuals have committed crimes where they would have been incarcerated for, are now out waiting either court processes. And I think a lot of it's COVID related as well, right? We've had to change the mechanisms there. But the public is frustrated. I get the calls on that side of it. Why aren't we doing more? Why aren't we doing more? we had 81 cops at one point. We're down to 71. 3 of those are assigned to the schools as SROs. So really, we only have 68 on the street. And we're still doing the job that we did when we had 81. So a lot of it is frustration on the part of the officers when they get to a call, and a lot of it is, we get called to a scene and we say, we're being told, hey, that person just punched me in the face. Well, we're there in a reactionary manner. We have to, we have to ask questions. We neighborhood canvass. And when we're told, no, get off my porch. I'm not talking to you. Well, how are we supposed to make it better when the community doesn't say that? And I've been to meetings. I was one at last night that they say, well, we don't trust the police. I don't know what to tell you. At this point, you got to give us the information. And if you don't trust to give it to us face to face, then use our tip line and give it to us anonymously. Let us work on that. But I do call out the community and the community leaders to step up. It's time, right? The officers are out there. I will stand tall in my uniform next to you on the street doing whatever we got to do. But it's going to take more than just the cops. We got 71, really 68 out there. The school resource officers do a phenomenal job maintaining what they do out there. They're not disciplinarians. I know there's a lot of information out there following the national narrative that they are, and that is absolutely not the case. We work with the school in making sure that, the school is safe, the students are safe. You say it all the time. As a mother of a child that goes to the school, I want my child safe. When they get on that bus, when they get off that bus, when they're in that building, I want them safe. And I understand that there's healthy discussions about, people of color seeing it differently. We're trying to keep all that in mind. But at the end of the day, they still point the finger at us. When there's a shooting, they say, what are you going to do about it, Chief? What is your department going to do about it? I have 68 officers. If you can't hear the frustration in my voice right now, then you're not listening close enough, okay? Because it is frustrating. There are 23,000 residents in Kingston. People know things. Give us the information. We'll act. We will act on it. We will be the mechanism that brings these people to justice. But until then, there is a level of frustration. And as an old officer, as a department administrator, and as a new officer, I can understand it. I experienced it first in Kingston when I became a cop, and they told us we didn't see anything when there's an individual walking down Prospect Street with a knife in their back. It was frustrating.
We are unfortunately out of time.
Enjoy the maple.
Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
This was awesome. Chief Tinty, Police Chief, City of Kingston, Elissa, City Clerk. Have a great day. Enjoy St. Patrick's Day. You do have green on. I got called out by Mrs. R this morning when she called.
That. Very nice.
I didn't have any green on. So we got to go for a break, and then we'll be back with Michelle Hinchy.
Listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Someone in your town, at your school, or where you work is suffering from Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. They're dealing with excruciating pain and days when they can't even get out of bed. Chances are someone you know has Crohn's or colitis. Someone like me. I'm Amy Brenneman, and I'm asking you to support the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America to help millions of us cope and to find cures. Visit ccfa.org today to learn more. Help someone you know get back to their lives at ccfa.org.
Hi, this is Jim Quigley, supervisor of the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, listeners. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We just got done the last hour here. Compliments of Chief Tinty and his lovely wife, Lisa. Brought in their maple syrup and way too much food. And I believe we have Senator Michelle Hinchy with us virtually.
Hello. I picked the wrong day to call in.
You should have been here. You don't know what you missed out on.
I'm up in Albany, otherwise I'd be there, but that sounds delicious.
It was. But I ate too much, and I couldn't decide amongst the three syrups which one I liked the best. So, of course, I had to try all three of them.
Of course. That's a good problem to have, though.
Yes. Now I don't know if I can move the rest of the day. I do, a lot of mornings I'll have a banana. Sometimes I'll have, I love the egg white wraps, but I certainly overdid it this morning. But it is St. Patrick's Day, so
yes,
got to indulge.
St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Hard to believe we are now more than halfway through the third month of 2021. Scary.
It is. Time is flying, and it was, right around this time last year where we really first started canceling events. So it's sad to have the second year in a row, specifically, cancel all of the incredible St. Patrick's Day events that we have, in Ulster County and across our region. I know we were all hoping that we'd be able to celebrate this year, but it's just one more thing to put on the list for a big celebration next year once we're all vaccinated.
Yeah, and we've made such great strides, especially I think we're right about as of last evening, 28% of the nation's adults had been vaccinated. So we're certainly headed in the right direction. I'm very encouraged. On the flip side, though, when you see what some of these governors, Texas, Florida, Mississippi, other states, where they're opening up 100% with no masks, no social distancing, that makes me nervous, because we see what's going on over in the UK, what we heard just yesterday north of the border in Ontario with the spike that they've experienced, has to makes me a little nervous because we've come so far. And I think Dr. Fauci summed it up very well. I think it was on Monday. Don't spike the ball on the 5-yard line. I mean, we're literally that close. And to experience another setback, I think would be even more devastating for a lot of people than what it was previously.
I agree, and I think we're seeing, unfortunately, as time goes on, new strains develop and new stronger strains. And, I heard a horrible story the other day of someone from our community who had gotten the first dose of the vaccine and, felt safe and comfortable and got together with, a good number of people without the right protections in place, and then got a terrible case of COVID in between the doses, right? And so while there's the light at the end of the tunnel, we got to see it through, and we are so close, as you've said. And so if we can all just hang in a little bit longer, the weather's getting nicer, we can start to be outside more. We are ramping up vaccine distribution. The federal government, President Biden almost feels like every couple of days moves the final date for when all adults could be vaccinated up, which is incredible. And so now we're looking at May, which is really not that far away. And here in Ulster, we've got this new state site coming in New Paltz, which the details are still coming, but it looks like it should be opening on Friday, which is really exciting. I have been advocating very hard with the executive to make sure that we get a state site in Ulster County. I know our executive, Pat Ryan, and our Assemblyman, Kevin Cahill, have absolutely been doing the same. And so to see that come to fruition now is really exciting. And as we know, the Kingston pod site that was at the field house over at the Kingston High School is moving to a larger location at Best Buy at the Hudson Valley Mall. And so that's happening, I believe, in the next few days as well, which is exciting. And so the more doses we get and now bigger spaces, everybody has access. Who needs it. And hopefully, I believe that we'll be adding more and more people to the vaccine eligibility list. There's, now public-facing employees and some nonprofits are eligible starting today. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And more and more, we're really pushing, especially as chair of the Agriculture and Food Committee, we're pushing very hard for agricultural workers and food processing workers to be included, to make sure that we don't have a problem with our food supply chain again, like we did this time last year. So things are looking up.
And that's very, very important, because obviously that food supply chain is very, very critical.
Absolutely. And I think we saw, just around really April of last year, all of these outbreaks happening in big food plants and such, and farms across the country. And we realized that our supply chains are much more fragile, I think, than we all recognized, and then we need to realize. And so making sure that the people who are on the front lines there, getting us fed, putting food on our tables, are taken care of, so that they can continue to go to work safely, and we can all have, hopefully, locally grown food in our restaurants and in our grocery stores.
True. And we've got coming to Sorgady's, just announced over the past few days, the Community Action Farm Stand, which is going to be great for, because there is still residents that are having difficult times and in need, and they're going to be in the Frank Greco Senior Citizens parking lot the fourth Friday of every month, beginning on April the 23rd. So it's good to see, and it's good to see that there's still programs, there's still opportunities. Everything is anonymous. You don't have to supply your name, any information at all. You pull up, you stay in your vehicle, and they place the food in the trunk. And I know, and I'm sure this is the case with every community throughout New York State and beyond, there are still many that are in need, and these are vital services.
Absolutely. I'm actually really excited. I'll be there on the 23rd, helping hand out some food. Really excited that this is coming to our community. We've talked about this a few times, but it bears repeating, because it is one of the incredible silver linings here of just how many people and how many groups have really stepped up in this moment, caring about their neighbors in our community. It's one of the incredible things about living in a town like ours and in a county like ours. Small town communities are incredible. Neighbors really stepping up to help neighbors and continuing those efforts and recognizing what works and what we need and coming in to fill the gaps, and seeing this farm stand coming into Saugerties is a perfect example of that, and of people just really showing how much we all love each other, right? And how this moment has brought us, while we've all been far apart, and it's been sad to not see everyone. I talk about it every day. It's really brought us closer in a lot of ways to look at how we can look out for each other.
True. And, I can remember a year ago as we started, I think it was a year ago yesterday, where I believe the schools officially shut down. I'm not 100% sure, but it was right around that 14th to 16th time frame. And as we moved through March and into April, and things got real bad and into May, I remember several times talking on this radio show that there would be silver linings coming out of it. There would be new BMPs, best management practices. And already, as we moved into April, I know we were implementing a lot of those new BMPs, which are going to stay. We're not going to go back to the way it was pre-pandemic. And you just mentioned this is certainly a silver lining with this farm stand, food stand. And I feel when we get everyone vaccinated, or everyone that wants to get vaccinated, and now encouraging news that Moderna is going to be beginning to test on 6 months to 16 years of age. Once we get to that point, and we've got this beat, I think there's going to be a lot of good and a lot of new stuff that we've learned that is just going to make our lives better and may very well enhance quality of life.
I agree. And, as we're talking about schools, I've got to give a shout out to Saugerties High School student Jaden Williams, who has launched himself a sock drive for the homeless and is inviting the community to participate. I mean, that's just awesome. To see people at all levels, as we talk about people standing up for each other and looking out for each other. This is incredible. It's amazing. I'm going to be dropping off some socks. I encourage everyone to do the same, just as a plug for him. Any packages can be dropped off in the junior, senior high lobby. The deadline is Wednesday, March 31st. But this is a great initiative, and I think that people have been inspired to start things like this, and look around and see the needs and see the holes that they can fill and be creative about how to do that. And so to your point about how, a lot of these protections, I think, will stay in place in the way that we think about things, the way that, we interact, how many times we wash our hands, while many of those things I think will stay in place. So hopefully, too, will the creativity and the look to the looking around to solve problems.
So, would you mind repeating that? That's the first that I'm hearing this, and I'm wondering now, even if our listeners know about this. So, Jaden
Williams is a Saugerties High School student, and he has launched a sock drive for the homeless. We talk a lot about food drives and food insecurity, which is incredibly important. But one of the things that gets lost is all the other products that people need that we take for granted that, help people get back on their feet or they just may not have access to. We actually did a hygiene drive ourselves, our office, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. We did it in Catskill and delivered both to Community Action of Greene County as well as the YWCA in Ulster County. And we collected toothpaste and toothbrushes and hairbrushes and paper towels and all kinds of things that people need that kind of get overlooked. And here is a perfect example of someone in our community doing the same thing. So it's Jaden Williams, who's a Saugerties High School student, doing a sock drive. And people in the community can drop off socks to the Saugerties school lobby up until March 31st.
Well, that's phenomenal, and it's great to see, especially a high school student, and so many of our students through this past year, especially athletes who were looking forward to their senior year last year, and now again this year, and may have had, and we touched upon this earlier, may have had the opportunity to break some school records in scholastic sports. Never got that opportunity. And to see the way the students back last year when we were doing the Project Resilience, there's there's been so much good that students have done. A lot of times, we just don't see it. The public does not see it, and unfortunately, as a result, kids will get a bad rap.
Yep, that's true. I gotta say, I think our wonderful supervisor Fred Costello is on, but he might be muted. I just got a message.
Oh. No, we don't have the ability.
No, we don't have the ability to mute people here.
Maybe he's muted himself, but he is listening, and so maybe he can figure that out. But he will join us soon, hopefully. But you're right. This has been a really challenging time for our students, and I think there's it's finally a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's unfortunate and it's unfair. When you're in high school and you're looking forward to your senior year of sports, or spending all of that time with important time with your friends. This has been a really challenging time, but it's been really incredible to see how resilient our students are and our kids are, and how quickly they've all really adapted to this and understood how important it is. And they're kind of sacrificing something for the greater good of our region, of our state, of our country. It's something I think that they'll carry for the rest of their lives.
Sure. Supervisor Costello, we can't hear you. Apparently, you can hear us. That is strange. Lawrence, do you want...
Technology never works when you want it to.
Lawrence, do you want him to hang up and call
I
back?
can hang up his line and leave Michelle on, and then he could try calling back.
Yeah, if you could hear us, Fred.
Yeah, Fred, I'm going to hang up your line. Just dial the number again.
That is strange.
Yeah.
He stopped talking in the middle of Tinty. I noticed. I thought maybe he was upset because there was no syrup for him. So I was thinking, I hadn't heard him talk since 8 o'clock.
well, now we know why.
Well, I thought maybe his mouth was watering so much after I sent him the picture of the wonderful bounty that he ran out to melt away and got hot cross
there you
buns.
Go. Well, so I've been hearing it's an incredible season for maple syrup, so I'm sure that was delicious. I'm excited to get my own.
It was, and they brought in 3 different types of syrups, maple syrups, and I had a very, very difficult time, Senator. I couldn't decide which one I liked the best, so I indulged in all 3
before 9 a.m. That's great.
Fred must be having some kind of technical difficulties on our end because we don't have the ability to mute anyone. We can.
All right, we got Fred.
I think I'm here. How are we doing?
There you are.
Hey.
We haven't heard from you since a little after 8 o'clock. We wonder what happened.
I don't know. When Chief and Elisa were on, I for whatever reason, it just seemed like I couldn't get through anymore, and I thought it would change after the break. But that was good, and I'm kind of envious, Greg, because you had a nice breakfast, and I feel left out.
You picked the wrong day not to show.
I sure did.
We thought that your mouth started watering and you ran out to the melt-away for hot cross buns.
Well, I intend to. Now I have to find a way to satisfy my urge for maple syrup. I'm going to have to get pancakes.
You know who has great pancakes? The new it's called Grain in Kingston. It's in the Duo location in Uptown Kingston.
Okay.
They just opened, and I went there for brunch the other weekend, and their pancakes were delicious.
Oh, wow.
Another great, I've become a pancake connoisseur. Another great new pancake place, also with great maple syrup, is Pearl Moon in Woodstock.
Oh.
They also just two new businesses, 2 new restaurants in our community that are both delicious.
Good. I admire their courage. This is a challenging time for restaurants in general, and folks to start up right now. It's good for them.
It's true, which is why it's important, especially as everybody keeps getting vaccinated and we start to open up a little bit more. It's safer to be out. It's important to support them. You know, all the ones who have been really hustling through and working really hard, being creative with their costs through this pandemic need the support. And those new ones that were prepared to open right as the pandemic was hitting. You know, it's, as you said, the worst time, almost an impossible time to start a business. And specifically these two who have just recently opened, they're really good, and they're taking really great precautions. It felt really safe being there, and the food was delicious. At Grain in Kingston, they have chicken and waffles, and the chicken comes in a waffle bowl, and it's amazing.
Ooh, yum.
Wow, I bet that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Great presentation. Highly recommend. Worth it just to see how they serve it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Too, that was I was kind of sad when they closed. They always did a nice job there.
They did. I was sad about that too. But one of the things that's nice about Grain, the Grain and Market, is that they really pay homage to Duo a bit too. You know, they bought the furniture from the owners, and so it feels very normal. You know, it feels very comfortable. It pays a really nice, I think, respectful homage to how great of a restaurant that was and how much a part of the community it was. But they've got a little bit of twist of their own. And again, the food was delicious. So I'm excited to see them kind of continue to grow and get their own following and expand.
Perfect.
And that's tough to have two restaurants open up, considering the restrictions that restaurants are facing right now. Even though it's been laxed a little bit, things have been opened up. What are we, 75% on the interior now for restaurants?
Tomorrow we start 75%.
Okay.
And one of the things we're looking at as a legislature too, my upstate colleagues and I have been comparing a lot of notes and how our communities are faring. And, you know, for the first time, there's many more of us than have ever been representing communities in upstate, which is really exciting, and it means a lot for us. And we've been looking at, you know, a few, as we talked about, I think on the last time I was on, you know, we've made some changes to the structure of the executive powers, and we are now reviewing all of the executive orders that have been put in place and seeing how they really, if they're still needed, you know, in the way that they are now. Many of them are great, but many of them can change. And so we've been looking specifically at hours for restaurants. You know, if people at bars or restaurants and bars, if you're going in to get a drink, do you still need to get food? Along with that, you know, can you have some people, right now you're actually not allowed to stand at a bar. You have to be seated, you know, Fred, as you know. But we're trying to remove some of those things so that it's easier for our restaurants in this moment to start really coming back.
We are, some of those rules, I think they've been helpful in curtailing the pandemic, and they had a need, and maybe some of them still do. But they are hard for folks to manage because, you know, when you eat at a bar, you're kind of gravitated towards the conversation and being with other folks and sharing an experience. And the natural tendency is to gravitate or get closer to someone you're trying to talk to, and it's a constant challenge to try to mitigate that.
Well, see, I could never understand what the difference is if you're seated 6 feet apart, or one is seated and one is standing 6 feet apart, or if both people are standing 6 feet apart.
We're working
less
on that.
Mobile if you're seated, so you're more likely to maintain that barrier. If you're standing,
You can drift.
More likely, yeah. You're going to drift. You are. It's inevitable. So it presents its own challenges. It's hard though. There's just, you know, even when people get up to go to the bathroom or, you know, or just say hello to someone quickly, it's a difficult atmosphere to manage successfully. We're almost to the end, so I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, and I do feel there's a change in people's atmosphere and attitude about going out, and, you know, a little bit more courage about getting back to dining out and going to have a drink with a friend and things like that. So that's all encouraging for us.
And something I had mentioned, I think about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I was hoping for, and looking at some of the longer range forecasts as we move through this weekend and into next week, the weather is going to be much more conducive to outdoor dining.
Yeah,
Which is very exciting.
Yes, it is. And I think there's a feeling amongst folks that if we are eating outdoors, we are safer than if we're inside a closed environment.
Sure.
Yes. Absolutely. So we're making it through, and by the time the weather gets colder, we'll all be vaccinated. You know, everyone who wants to, and I encourage everyone to get vaccinated. The vaccine is safe. It's incredibly important for all of us, and especially for our small businesses, so that we can all stay safe and get our kids back to school and get our economy back up and running. But we will all have been vaccinated, you know, by the time it gets cold again, which is a really exciting thing to think about.
It is, because it gives us the opportunity to be normal and do things and visit with our loved ones that, you know, have been kind of sheltering in place, and, you know, have the kids do the school events. It's just, we took all that for granted for so long. It's just exciting to think that we might be able to get back to it pretty soon.
We are out of time, unfortunately. Senator Hinchey, Supervisor Costello. Obviously, that half hour just flew right on by. It was great having you. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're in session up in Albany, but have a great day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Listeners, happy St. Patrick's Day. Lawrence, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
And we'll see you all back here next Wednesday.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.